One. Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Sunday, June 4th, 2023, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Now Mind You podcast. This is episode 69.
Combat.
Combat. I was going to be like, I did that for you, Bryce. Nah,
Thank you.
but
I needed that.
with that, I'm TJ.
I'm Matt.
I'm Bryce.
There will be some spoilers up ahead, but what are we covering for you today? Matt's going to take us into the women's boxing title event that happened last night with Clarissa Shields versus Maricela Cornejo. Then we'll go into UFC fight night that took place last night, Cara France versus Albazi. Without wasting any further time, Matt, take it away.
So last night we had Clarissa Shields versus Cornejo, and she was defending all of her titles. And initially, Clarissa Shields was not supposed to fight Marcela Cornejo. Initially, Clarissa Shields was scheduled to fight Hannah Gabriels. What ended up happening was Hannah Gabriels tested positive for a banned substance and was pulled from the fight. And Cornejo decided to step in last minute, which, more power to her. So this was also giving her an opportunity to fight for the undisputed middleweight championship, for women. And, that was WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO, WBF, and ring titles. Now, the last time we saw Clarissa Shields, she fought back in October of last year against Savannah Marshall in O2 Arena, where she, again, defended her titles. For those who are keeping count at home, Clarissa Shields is still undefeated. Cornejo came into this fight 15-5, coming off of a victory over Miranda Barber back in actually September of 2021. She had been bouncing around recently looking for not only another fight, but she was, also looking to find the right promotion and things like that. Pretty much looking to sign with someone and just kind of weighing her options. With that said, she stepped in on short notice with the opportunity to fight against Clarissa Shields, and really the most credit I can give to her within that situation is she showed up, and she definitely showed up to fight. But with that said, she was completely unmatched, and that's not just me saying that. The scorecards from the judges said that. I mean, anybody who saw the fight could see this was a runaway train for Clarissa Shields almost from jump. Clarissa was landing pretty much the right hand at will, like as early as round 2. And it looked like she literally was just running the command list on Cornejo at a certain point. Like she was in round 2 with her lead hand down, just walking to her, slipping and countering. Damn. Like just bullying her back to the ropes. The scorecards for this fight read 100-90, 100-90, and 100-89. There was not a single judge there was not a single round that Clarissa lost. Clarissa just 100% dominated Cornejo beginning to end. There's no real story, to tell. And I'm not saying that to be in any way disrespectful to Clarissa or to Cornejo, but this was a one-sided fight from a woman that essentially pulled up on like 2 weeks notice to save this card. And it's unfortunate that all of this even took place, all because of, the failed drug test and all that. And, Hannah Gabriels is not exempt of any blame here in this situation. But, ultimately what I'm saying is, because this was a rematch for them in the first place.
Right.
Ultimately, I'm saying that, I don't think even with a full camp, Cornejo would have won. But perhaps she could have put up more of a fight had she not had to take this fight on 2 weeks notice. I mean, hey, she didn't have to. She volunteered, right? Mm-hmm. But I just don't see anybody beating Clarissa. Even in this situation, this was a rematch that she was about to do for someone she already beat.
Yeah. And
somebody she beat a while ago. I forgot Clarissa Shields had even fought Hannah Gabriels before. You know what I'm saying? She has just in a lot of ways been so dominant. Even her next matchup, they're talking about potentially being like Franchon Cruz. Guess what? She's fought Franchon Cruz before too. So it kind of is just one of those things where she's just kind of running out of options, and I don't blame her. I'm not mad at her. Like some people want to say certain things about Clarissa, as it were, as a fighter, like whether she has certain competition or not. It's not her fault the girls aren't there.
Right.
It's not. You can't blame her for fighting all the girls in her division and beating them. You know what I'm saying? There's no one she's avoiding. So that's pretty much all I got to say on it. It was just a one-sided fight. It was all Clarissa. It was all Clarissa. I'm definitely ready to go into the UFC if y'all are.
Let's do it.
Well, I'll cover the first fight. Well, we're talking about UFC Kai France versus Amir Albazi. And the opening
10 points for Bryce.
Yeah, that was smooth.
I'll be trying. Sometimes I'll be forgetting, but I'll be trying to. The opening fight in the card was a welterweight fight between Abubakar Nurmagomedov and Elijah Zaleski dos Santos.
Jesus.
Good work.
Yeah.
Good work.
First try, Bryce. Man, shout out to you.
Was crazier than the damn fight.
That's fair. That's fair. That was funny as hell. That's fair.
They both are coming in off of a win. Dos Santos had a win over Benoit Saint-Denis at UFC.
Hey, good job on that one too.
October 30th.
Bro, this nigga going crazy.
Hey, I'm on the roll. Hold on. I didn't see the one Abubakar did for the next one. Hold on. He won too. And he beat oh my God. Godzi. Oh my God, this is that Godziev. Golly.
Gadziev. You're like
you really almost there.
Gadzi Omar Gadziev. Okay. Yeah. All right. The battle between Nurmagomedov and Dos Santos just basically came down to wrestling defense. First round, they were kind of filling each other out. Nurmagomedov went for a takedown. Pretty much most of the fight, it was just Nurmagomedov just holding Dos Santos to the cage, and just Dos Santos holding him off. When they finally got back to their hands, they had to be separated by the ref, I believe. Mm-hmm. They got back to the feet, and Dos Santos was just tagging him here and there, mainly with kicks. He's swinging so wildly.
I thought a knockout was coming.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Nurmagomedov's got a chin.
Yeah. Nurmagomedov actually did catch Dos Santos in the beginning fight. He caught him with two good, I want to say two hooks, which did daze a little. It seemed like it dazed Dos Santos a little bit, which got Nurmagomedov to get him to the wall, but the wrestling defense came into play. But I would say Dos Santos kind of took over the round in the latter half with just his hands and his footwork. Nurmagomedov couldn't do anything against his hands. The only thing he had was wrestling. Going into the second round, once again, we get more of the same thing. Nurmagomedov trying to go for the grappling, and Dos Santos just completely countering that, stopping it, and making Nurmagomedov pay with just the strikes. And pretty much that was I couldn't even give Dos Santos was just completely dominant in this performance. Just playing it back in my head. The third round, you could definitely see the difference in just their just how they are physically. Dos Santos didn't seem tired. He didn't seem like he lost any beat at all. Nurmagomedov looked like the attempted takedowns did not help his gas tank. He looked a little gassed. He couldn't do much, and parts of it, Dos Santos was definitely picking him apart. I believe he tried to take down Dos Santos. I don't know if it was the second or the third round that he got the takedown. But it just the work Dos Santos did pretty much just cemented his win. Looking at the scoreboard, total strikes, Nurmagomedov had 48 out of 76. Dos Santos had 50 out of 132 significant strikes. Nurmagomedov had 29 out of 54. Dos Santos had 42 out of 113. He even attempted to strike one. And of course, takedowns, Nurmagomedov had 1 out of 8. Now, the funny thing is, Elijah did try to get a couple of takedowns, but he got 0 out of 2. But yeah, this was a dominant win by Dos Santos. If he would have got a finish, it would have been just a cherry on top. But he looked very good in this fight. So yeah. Any thoughts on this fight, y'all? I'll pass it to TJ. What you think?
I feel like you hit the nail on the head. I remember texting you guys while I was watching, being like, "Oh, we might see a Nurmagomedov get knocked out." Didn't happen, but he really did shut down that wrestling. Yeah, it was honestly very impressive. I wonder if the momentum has shifted since Makhachev versus Volkanovski. People are like, "Wait a minute, they're human." But yeah, that's all I got. I'll pass it over to Matt.
Hey, can I keep it a bean?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was ready for this fight to be over. I wasn't. This fight ain't really moved me like that. Like, I felt like for me, at least as far as what I was entertained by, I don't think the fight was a bad fight. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like I don't like it, and this will come back up later. I don't like stall tactics. I don't like that.
I know exactly what fight this is going to come back up for.
I fucking hate stall tactics.
This is going to come up
like,
for.
So immediately I'm turned off when I see that. I understand like strategy and all that shit. Trust me, I understand. You got to be, you in a fight, you can't always be on the gas and be go. But like, to just intentionally stall the fight. And there was definitely times, and some guys do this, not all guys do. But like, when you're just pinning a guy up on the cage to catch a break, and like you're not even working, they throwing just them knees and shit. You're not doing anything but leaning up against them, like just giving away free points because you want to reset, or you just want to, you know what I'm saying, do some over under and just bury your head in their neck just to keep them right there for a second. Nah, man, I didn't like that. I did feel that there were definitely. I felt like the most competitive round was the first round, but I felt like the ferocity of Santos really kept Nurmagomedov at bay, and it made him not want to engage. Like, you say what you will, and I'm as understanding about all of this shit, but like, to tell me and you're telling me over the course of 15 minutes, this guy didn't throw 100 punches. He didn't throw 100 strikes in 15 minutes. That's my minimum benchmark. Unless you're just like a guy that finishes guys on the ground, or you're a sub person. Like, this don't apply to like what's the Brazilian dude's name that was at middleweight for a long time?
I'm talking about,
like, he was like the jiu-jitsu master at middleweight.
I know what you're talking about.
But you know what I mean? Yeah, like, this doesn't apply to people like
squeeze
him.
blood out of people. Fuck.
Yeah, it's gonna drive me crazy.
Munt.
He fought silver for the title once,
and then I think Crone Gracie's training with him now too.
Yeah. Damian Maia. Damian Maia. My thought process, like, I don't think of that type of person. Right. You know what I'm saying? Of like,
that's just what he does.
He's only trying to get on the ground. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? He's not stalling. He's like, yo, we doing jiu-jitsu. This is how I'm gonna win this fight. Right. I gotta grab this guy, get him on the ground, and choke his ass out.
Right.
If that's your mentality, that's different. That's not what we got in that fight. He literally was kept at bay by the ferocity of this guy. And because of that, he wasn't throwing strikes. And I mean, he made his attempts, his takedown attempts. He was 1 for 8.
Yeah. And the significance to that too, he's a Nurmagomedov. He's from Pakistan. That's like, come on, bro.
Shout out to Dos Santos for his scrambling and like him trying to make the fight, but also him understanding that if he approached this dude too recklessly, that he would take him down. I get that. That just, I don't know. That shit just bothered me, man. So I was a little. That was actually the only fight on the card that made me feel that way overall. But there were definitely moments I'm going to talk about later. For sure, that made me feel that way.
That for sure sounded ominous. With that though, should I take us into Carini Silva versus Ketlin Souza?
Motherfucker let the intrusive thoughts in. She let the devil in.
Okay, first of all, Carini Killer Silva. You look at her face. That is not the
This
face
was
of
Brazil
a killer.
on Brazil violence, G.
That is not the face of a killer. But then you look at what she does in the octagon, and you're like, I understand.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something.
What's
Matt.
more scary is her ass started crying after that.
Hey, bro,
Nah, how you
know.
crying?
Hey, we're jumping ahead though. We're jumping ahead by a lot.
As y'all could tell, I was all right.
But we covered her debut.
That's
Against
crazy.
Botelho. We covered her debut. This is another athlete where it's like, oh yeah, we've been there with since the beginning with their career in the UFC, right? But Carini Killer Silva, her debut fight was against Botelho back in June. Oh shit, damn near a year to the day. Yeah, she's been on ice since I guess no one wanted to fight her when they saw what she did to Botelho. And then on the other side we have
what about the patella?
I'm gonna tell you to go to your room. But and then on the other side we had Ketlin Esquentadinha Souza, right? I do not know what that translates to from Portuguese saying go home.
All right.
Let me get there. Like you keep
I'm sorry. I'm just still y'all not a TJ knows
we're gonna get into it. It's not a long fight, y'all. The fighter data that I'm giving right now is longer than the actual fight, and the way this fight goes down, well, you'll see my notes. My notes pretty much summed it all up. But yeah, Ketlin Souza was actually an Invicta champ, and she was making her debut in the UFC. And god damn it, this is not what you want to happen on your
hell of a welcome.
This is gonna it's gonna sideline her for like a long ass time now. Right? Like I usually make a joke about scholarships, but like high key, damn, right? So I'm gonna cut the BS. What happened? So essentially, Carini did what she does. She, was like, fuck all this hand business. Let's just take this to the ground. Within, I want to say a minute, maybe even less than that, she got Souza on her back, and now she's like got her in like a side control half guard scenario. At some point, Carini sees that, well, I'll just call her Killer because that's what she did to that scholarship. Killer sees the opportunity to grab the ankle, goes for a leg entanglement, but it wasn't like the typical type of entanglement you see people go into.
This ain't got shit to do with Will Smith
ankle
neither.
lock, right? Like this is a straight ankle lock. Like the type of entanglement she used was something you might see for a heel hook. Now, a straight ankle lock, cousin of that is like an Achilles tendon lock. Usually you see this get done, you'll get the tap, but it usually will not affect any other area of the leg besides the ankle Achilles area. The way the legs were locked up, she goes from the ankle lock and you see her kind of leaning back and hit that arch. I'm talking about Killer, right? And Ketlin Souza's like there, she's like, all right, ankle lock, whatever. But like when I tell you her knee, and I'm talking about Souza, her knee pops sideways. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, y'all. Her knee popped sideways. Your knee is supposed to bend forward and back, right? That's the type of movement.
Her knee fucking parted like the Red Sea,
right? Her knee popped sideways. There was some pressure that I'm gonna say this. When they announced the outcome of the fight, Bruce Buffer, it was the ref and Killer. Ketlin Souza had to be escorted out of the ring because her leg was broken.
Like, niggas wasn't even cheering after that win, bro.
And then she started crying like immediately afterward. I don't know if it was a crying like my inner demons kind of took a hold of me, or it was crying like, yo, I didn't mean to actually, end her career. But
oh damn,
it was on some like water boy vibes.
It was
go ahead, Matt.
When you see the fucking replay,
I only saw. I
don't need to see that ever again.
No, I did. I didn't mean to see it again.
Matt
and saw it again. You
did.
You did, but I had to. I had to for the show. I was scared. It was too crazy for me not to know. And then when I saw it, because I was like, I wonder why he thinks this is like, why this gonna fuck with me. When I saw them go on the ground, I was like,
oh, that's why.
I was like, there's nothing. And then he shifted to the leg. I was like, oh no. I said something bad's about to happen. Oh no. And I just saw pull it, and I saw her knee opened a mouth. It had a mouth. It looked like her knee turned into fucking Mr. Sacco. Her shit separated like the Red Sea. That shit was nuts. Nah, I got right up and was like, no way, no fucking way. This, oh man, that the devil was lit into that cage with what happened to that girl's knee. I pray that was not no karma that came to that young lady. That shit was terrible.
Yeah,
It's
it
motherfuckers
was.
I cannot stand. I would never hope that on. Like, oh shit.
Yeah,
Oh
that
God,
keeps you
it was.
sidelined. You're not making money for a while.
Man, that keeps you humble. That shit was crazy. Not like that. Your first fight ain't supposed to go like that.
No.
You always expect there's a bunch of different crazy ways that the shit could go down in your debut. You could win, you could lose, you get knocked
But
out.
you expect to
You could
walk
get choked out.
Right.
You get choked out.
I
You
carried
know what I'm
out.
saying?
Right.
Nigga might hit you with the arm bar. Worst case scenario, get your arm broke. Fuck.
Okay, I'm driving with one arm. Cool.
Not like this, bro. Not like this.
Can't ride
There's
your bike.
ain't no career, bro. Ain't
That
no
soccer
jiu-jitsu,
game you were trying to
ain't
jump
no
into
boxing,
the next day.
ain't no pickup games of basketball. You could tell the shorties at export, that's over with. Your jumper is done. That shit is cooked.
You probably can't do Tabo.
You can't do shit. You can't do nothing but lay down. That's what she did to this girl. Her first fight in the UFC. You fucking imagine you was the fight, you was the fucking Invicta FC champion. You pulled up to this motherfucker like, man, I finally made it to the big time. Like,
and she's like, yeah, this ain't it. This ain't
the
Invicta.
The competition gonna be up, but we gonna see. And then, nope.
Sorry.
Nope. She still don't know what it's like to be in the UFC. She didn't get a chance.
Oh.
God,
she never got a chance. No, man, that was fucked up. She ain't have to do that girl like that. I'm gonna keep it a bean. I'm gonna keep it a bean because I don't want it to come back out. Because first of all, Carini, I don't want no smoke. Let me just tell you that up front. I want no problems with you. I want no problems, but I'm gonna tell you something. I'm walking the other way if I see little shorty walking. All 5'5", 125 pounds. I knew something was up when I saw the guns on shorty. And I was like, something ain't right here. And then it's like, oh, she likes to grapple? Problem.
This math ain't mathin'.
This math ain't mathin'. She had fucking damn near had Gordon Ryan arms on this girl. Nah.
Hey, relax. Relax.
All right, I'm off it.
Bryce.
I think Matt touched on it. I just
think Matt went OD on it, but go
I just want to touch on something else that I keep bringing up. The fact that they made a segue to a fucking Jimmy John.
They said, damn, that was fast. That was a fast finish. And you know what else is fast?
Jimmy John.
Jimmy John's delivery. Fast as
hell. Motherfuckers ain't shit. That was
blame capitalism, Bryce.
That was so disrespectful.
What made it so bad was the angle of the camera when they did the shit, like when you see it, because she's just like laying there holding her knee, and then he says it, and then it just goes into Jimmy John's fucking thing. Like, it's so sad. That's why I'm laughing. It's just,
you know what'll make you feel better about seeing this girl get her knee separated? A sandwich.
What? Sandwich.
That's all she's gonna be eating is sandwiches.
She ain't able to stand up and cook shit.
Feel better? Oh my god.
A turkey tom. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all? Like,
she's gonna be ordering sandwiches from now. Fuck, that's what's the fuck going on. Man, that shit is crazy.
That does not make you want to eat anything for a couple hours. That was tragic. I
was mad at her for doing her knee like that. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't know. I didn't know neither of them from a can of paint. But I was like, man, you was wrong for that one. But she ain't do it on purpose. So
it just, if any, it's like technique. What type of technique do you have that you just?
If there was ever a time to say it'd be like that, like talk about rolling the dice and getting snake eyes. God damn, like fuck. What do you say, bro?
It was Bryce's turn anyway. This thing is still on.
Hey,
I was so flabbergasted by that. I'm sorry, y'all.
No,
I get it.
It's hilarious. I was just like, damn, he's just going on her.
You had to let it out. That's
I just saw it today. Like, I didn't see it last night. Like, I woke up at the Tim Elliott fight because I fell asleep. I took like a nap before the fights came on. So I missed the first two. So I watched those when I got home today. Like, nah.
You were livid.
I didn't have time to cool down.
That's like blackjack, and you pull that extra card thinking it's gonna be it, then you bust.
Come on.
Yeah, that's what this was. This was definitely a bust.
Hmm.
So, I guess I could go into the next fight, but this wasn't much of a fight either. Because the motherfucker got Liko knocked the fuck out. Like,
No, we got we got Elliott versus Alta Marino. Matt, you want to do that one real quick, and then Bryce, you can get Miller. Well, you can get one Murder versus
definitely
Butler.
Get that one. Yeah. Murder versus Butler for sure. I'll make it quick. So we got Tim Elliott versus Victor Altamirano. I'm sorry. And if Tim Elliott seems familiar to you, it is because he has had not one but two runs in the UFC, and he also infamously won the UFC Ultimate Fighter Tournament of Champions that they made for Demetrius Johnson, who had cleared his division out to the point they had to go find somebody to fight him.
Right.
Also, he did not beat him either. However, he did give him one of the better fights that he had over his career. And he has since that time moved up to bantamweight, and he is now sitting at 135 pounds. He's had a bit of a mixed bag of success, but he does have a handful of decent names underneath him. He's got Ryan Benoit behind him, as well as Mark De La Rosa, and also Luis Smolka, who he got a fight of the night with as well. He also had a fight of the night with Brandon Royval, though he did not win that fight. At any rate, he had Victor Altamirano last night. This guy is, I'd say, a relative newcomer to the UFC. He pretty much has been trying to be scheduled to fight for a little bit of time now. And, this is like a guy that likes to do quick turnarounds because he didn't get to, he just fought like back in March and was pretty much looking to get a name on his resume. And like I said, he's only been in the UFC since literally last year, and he lost his very first one, and even since then he's had two other fights get canceled. So this is just slight background on the fighters. And also coming into this, there was some frustration on Tim Elliott's end with the organization because apparently they were doing something where they weren't doing comp tickets for the Apex or what have you. So he was saying that he was obviously had that on his shoulders, like he was talking about that the night of the fight. Ultimately here we see him put on what I really would just kind of call a veteran performance. And again, I have to go back to something else I said. Fucking stall tactics, man. I don't like it. But and he also gave a little bit of an explanation why he fought the way that he fought.
Right.
In his post-fight interview, saying that he was injured or whatever, and the weight cut was
stomach
hard.
issues.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, ultimately he was able to utilize takedowns and just do a lot of strikes on the ground. Pretty much a lot just to keep Victor Altamirano busy. He pretty much just utilized his deeper wealth of martial arts knowledge to just make this kid work a lot harder than he should have had to.
Right.
In a fight, and I'm not saying this disrespectfully to Tim Elliott, a fight that was kind of openly his to win. And it seemed like it was his to win at several occasions. And, Tim Elliott would just, pull something a little crafty, grab that leg, catch you coming at him a little bit too quick and get you on the ground. And also just the fact that he was choosing to prioritize defense of his body over his head, which would really throw off anybody, to be honest. I think all of those things ultimately led to him being able to get to the decision. I will tell you, though, if you didn't see the fight and all you saw was them standing there, you would not have thought Tim Elliott was about to be announced the winner of that fight.
Yeah.
He took some serious damage to the head, but I'm not even going to call it really his straight wrestling ability, but just he's sneaky. He has a crafty way of getting takedowns. That's like, to me, I think is a little bit like not the norm in terms of like what you would train for takedowns and shit. I mean, you would know better than me, but he kind of like does little shit that you don't typically see people do. Like, no one would do this. And he's like, yeah, but I would. And now you're on the ground.
Yeah, let me just go ahead and ride this leg that's going to my body right quick and get this takedown. Yeah.
It's like, why? It's like, yeah, because I'm going to weigh you down and it's going to hurt your hip to keep dragging me and you're going to fall.
And I got a rib guy.
Yeah.
And I got a rib guy. So,
So it's one of those, but I thought the fight was entertaining overall. I just, stall tactic shit, not for it, but I thought it was an entertaining fight. Pass it to you, TJ.
I thought this is the only thing I'll say. I think Altamirano, his mistake was always trying to see if he could cinch those guillotines. There was a point in this fight where every time he was on his feet and he got his hands and combinations going where he was finding a lot of success, but then it all kind of went to crap, especially in rounds 2 and 3, because you saw this pattern repeat a lot. He'd have success on the feet, and then he tries to go for that guillotine, and then Elliott ends up on top and goes to work. Like that was you saw it, especially in the third round. And in the third round, it looked like he found the cheat code, like he found the answer to Elliott, but then he went for that guillotine. Like Laura Sanko was mentioning it a lot during the commentary, and I was like, yeah, she's right, because it was just like his reflex. But at the end of the day, it's like he did go through a fight camp, so they were like, maybe they thought the guillotine was the solution, so that could be why he kept going for it. But at the same time, I'm not in Altamirano's head, right? I'm not in his corner, but that was the one thing I saw that made me think, like, why do you keep opting for this when you are clearly winning on your feet? But
it's kind of just a bad strategy thing.
Yeah. I have nothing else to add. Bryce?
I think he might be out.
Oh, he dropped out. Yeah, that's right. That's right. He did have the conflict.
He had a conflict scheduled, but
right.
we will hear more from Bryce next week.
Yes.
So we had the next fight. You mind if I take the next?
Go ahead.
Next
it shouldn't take you long.
It won't. We had UFC veteran with a capital V, Jim Miller versus Jesse Butler. Now, Jim Miller has been around forever, and I'm not saying that to be rude. I'm saying it as a legit thing.
He was around when they had sponsors.
He was around when they had sponsors. Jim Miller has been in the UFC since 2008. You know what I'm saying? He has the record currently for the most fights in the UFC, as well as the most victories in the UFC, which will continue to grow as long as he fights and as long as he wins.
Right.
It's really insane to even think that a guy has been fighting professionally for that long, and it is even on whatever level still a name, still a viable person in the division. You know what I'm saying? Still getting those bigger name fights, you know? Not even necessarily bigger names, but like still being given competitive fights, like still being active at this long. At any rate, he was fighting Jesse Butler. Jesse Butler was coming into this fight off of a victory, and this was also his UFC debut. So there's another guy. He was coming from Fury FC. He was coming off of a unanimous decision victory, and he was looking to make his debut against Jim Miller. And Jim Miller, standing southpaw, was finding the left hand early, and I'm not even it's called spade a spade. Very early found the left hand, threw a left hook while ducking underneath a jab, and I believe already knocked this man unconscious, and then gave him one more uppercut just to guarantee it. And the fight was over in 28 seconds. Jim Miller won via knockout and is now tied with Anderson Silva for the fifth most finishes in the UFC with 14. Which is really a crazy thing to think about. Another like kind of grand opening, grand closing thing for a debuting fighter. And I'm going to tell y'all what Bryce told us in the group chat. When he saw the mullet and the cartwheel entrance, he knew something bad was about to happen. And you know what? He's not wrong. I definitely should have thought the same thing, because the first time I was like, why does Jim Miller have a mullet all of a sudden?
Right.
And then, that kind of should have told me what I needed to know, but it didn't. But with that said, that was pretty much how the fight went, man. It was Jim Miller got in there, got the job done, and he about to go back home now. So good for him. TJ, do you have anything you want to add?
Sure. Here are my notes. Another vet versus noob. Damn. Jesus. Murder. Left hook of death. Jim Miller shall henceforth be known as Jim Murder. That is all. Do you mind if I take us into Caceres versus Pineda?
Oh, man, go ahead.
All right. I know you're going to have some words on this one, too, so I'm going to open it up to you toward the end. But this was at featherweight. We have Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres versus, let me make sure I got his nickname right, Daniel the Pit Pineda. These guys, it was like I mean, Pineda called it out, right? It was more of an OG matchup. Like these dudes have been around, right? They just haven't really fought each other. Caceres has won, what was it, 6 out of his last 7 before this fight. Spoiler alert, he won this one, so now he's won like 7 out of 8. So, excuse me, at the end of the fight in the Octagon interview, he was making a case to like kind of run it back with Yair if Yair is able to get that strap from Volkanovski, right? Is what I want to say about this fight. Me personally, I'm not necessarily going to go round by round because I thought it was kind of very similar patterns in all 3 rounds. It was basically this. Bruce Leroy isn't really known as a grappler. Pineda is, right? Pineda was trying to do a good job of taking the fight to the ground, trying to get Alex Caceres in some bad situations with submission attempts. And to be fair, there was that armbar in the first round where it was like, yo, he had Caceres dead to rights. That arm was about to go home with Pineda, and Caceres was like, wait, check this out, though. Escape. I'm a stack.
He was like, flexibility.
Arm out. But that was the story of the whole fight. It was like Caceres' takedown defense was crazy. His submission defense was crazy. And his stand-up was decent. Now, that being said, there was round 3, and Caceres, like literally, if I were to break it down this way, round 1, Caceres, 10-9. Round 2, 19-19, because Pineda did have him in some trouble with some of the grappling stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Round 3, Caceres on deck. So I would have scored it 29-28, right? But here's the thing. Caceres instantly found success in round 3 by going to the body, and he kept on capitalizing it. Like, this is what you need to understand in case you didn't see this fight. He hit Pineda in the body so hard. Pineda stepped back, put his hands on his hips, took an exhale, was like, you got me on that one. I got to give you that one. Then went back to work. Like, there were multiple moments in that round where you could clearly see Pineda was in pain, but to his credit, he is a warrior. Unfortunately for us, Caceres was not able to finish the job in that regard, even though it looked like, once again, it was a dead to right situation, this time on the reverse, where it was Caceres who had Pineda's number, but he wasn't able to put him away. That being said, he did get that unanimous decision win. Like, he clearly won 2 of the 3 rounds, right? It wasn't, I don't think it was the best Caceres performance, but I did like his performance. I just think for being able to answer all that grappling and wrestling the way he did and still be able to put on a show with his hands was good. But if he could have gotten that finish, I think it would have been like the bow tie he needed, the little bow he needed, right? What'd you think, Matt?
I thought it was probably the best performance we've seen Alex Caceres have. I thought it was his best overall MMA performance I've seen.
We've seen him have first round finishes.
Yeah, I'm saying just in a situation where
you said MMA.
Yeah, yes. Where he's just doing everything. His takedown defense, his striking, his jiu-jitsu defense and stuff. The stuff that upset me was like, when you have this guy hurt like this, jump. Like, you got to go to him.
Yeah.
He multiple times was allowed to step back and take a breather, and Alex Caceres would allow him
his hands on his hips
to step back, put his hands on his hips, or bend down, put his hands on his knees.
So wait, give me a second, bro. Let me
honor
system. Yeah, honor system.
It was like way too much of that for me. It was, and I felt like, if I'm playing couch QB type shit, like, he needed to just throw that left head kick.
Right.
The one time he threw it, he blocked it, but that wasn't it, I felt like he should have just threw the left head kick, got it over with.
Just
because he clearly was beating him in all of the striking exchanges. I won't say all of them, but he was dominating the striking exchanges.
Dude, that third round was all him.
Yeah, he dominated almost all of these striking exchanges. So because of that, I felt like there was like a little bit more he should have been able to do. But as far as his defense on the jiu-jitsu and stuff like that and his striking overall, it was great. It was great. This actually was this was almost my favorite fight of the night.
No, Jim Murder was it for me.
Yeah, this was almost my favorite one, just from the competition standpoint. You know what I'm saying? But that's about it.
Well, with that, you want to take us into the main event?
Yeah, I will take you into our
It'll be
controversial
it's
main
a little
event.
heartbreaking, but it's what it is.
Yeah. We got Kaikar France versus Amir Albazi.
By the
Now,
way, before you go into it,
mhm,
I know that back tattoo had to hurt. If it's a
bruh.
traditional, like Maori style tattoo, you know they did that the
Uh-huh.
traditional way, and that shit looks intricate. Go on.
Yeah, the stingray was crazy
Yeah.
on his back. So we had Kaikar France, who has garnered a lot of fanfare in the UFC since first joining the UFC. Obviously, as you can tell, we here on the Now Mind You podcast are a fan of him. He's been in the UFC since 2018. Has picked up some pretty decent victories. And even recently had an interim title shot against Brandon Moreno, which won him fight of the night, where he did fall a little bit short. He was TKO'd in the third round.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Nasty
everybody
body
pretty much
kick.
was looking to see him get back on the horse, get back in the win column, and he was going up against Amir Albazi. Amir Albazi has been on a run.
Yeah.
He has been on a tear. This guy came over from he was in Bellator, then he went to something called Brave Seat F, and he was then making his UFC debut back in 2020 against Malcolm Gordon. And since that time, he has rattled off 1, 2, 3 victories in a row, which is not easy to do in the UFC.
Mm-mm.
And this led him to a fight against Kaikar France, which would, in this situation, give him an opportunity to really kind of jump the rankings and really kind of jumpstart his UFC career. Again, not to say that he hasn't done anything, because he's undefeated in the UFC up until this point, but it would be a big deal to beat a name like Kaikar France.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, he did it.
Yeah.
Now, whether
That
you
being said,
agree
yeah.
or disagree with the fact that he did it, the three people whose opinion mattered the most agreed that he won the fight. The numbers and things like that, they're going to slightly tell a different story, but I'm going to get into it. I felt like in the first round, I gave it to Kaikar France.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, despite the fact that he was not controlling the pressure in the cage, he was kind of more so fighting off the back foot. I felt like he was more successful, believe it or not, kind of fighting off of his back foot. But when he would do those kind of blitzes coming forward, he was able to push Amir Albazi back and was able to land some strikes inside of those blitzes.
Yeah.
The second round, I kind of gave to Amir Albazi just because I felt like he was starting to pick up on what Kaikar France was doing as far as those trying to rush him and trying to time him. And if I'm not mistaken, round 2 was when he got his takedown in as well. So
yeah,
for that, I gave him the second round. The third round, I'm just going based off what I thought, because this fight went to decision.
Right.
The third round I gave to Kaikar France. I felt like he was landing the more damaging shots. And this was also the period where he got his takedown and he was able to get a lot of work done. But I just felt like in general, he was pushing the pace a little bit more in that third round. Fourth round was close, but I kind of edged it to Kaikar France. Just because of some of those exchanges during the last stretch of like the last minute of that fourth round, because it was such a pivotal one. And then the fifth round, I thought Kaikar France took it home. I thought he did enough. I thought he was busy enough, and I thought it was clear that he had kind of worn Amir Albazi out.
Yeah.
Like Amir Albazi wasn't exhausted, don't get me wrong, but like there was no more snap on his shots. There was like no more snap. He was just at that point, like, I don't want to say throwing to survive, but damn near throwing to survive, you know. And I felt like Kaikar France was starting to land that left hand. He was starting to hurt him. And the fight came to an end. And when we went to the scorecards, the judges ultimately decided that the winner was not in fact Kaikar France, but it was Amir Albazi. I guess they felt like they saw him do enough. I personally disagree with that, but again, I'm just a fan. So That's kind of more or less where I'm going to leave it. TJ, I'm gonna pass it back to you.
I don't really have anything to add. I know there was that one round where Albazi did have Kara France's back, but I don't think it should have swayed the judges that much. But it's what it is, man. They saw something we didn't, and at the end of the day, as you pointed out, it's their opinion that matters. But it's what it is. But I mean, if everyone agrees that somebody got robbed, well, Matt, you usually catch like the post-fight press conference. Did Dana mention anything about it?
You know what? I didn't catch even if he had any comments on it this time. I just the general sense in the community is that Kai Kara France won. But there are obviously, the detractors and there are people who say that they don't think that they don't think that that's right, or that they think the right person won. I mean, and then ultimately it's just one of those things where there's no right person in this scenario, because your opinion is always going to be swayed based off how you felt. And if you felt like he won before they get that decision, you're not going to be like, oh, okay.
Right.
And I feel like it was close-ish. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it was close-ish, but not enough that, I don't feel like it was enough that it would split it like that. So,
I mean, one thing that I think should let people know that if you don't think that Kara France won, just remember this sequence. I want to say it was at the end of the first round where Albazi was kind of taunting Kara France. And Kara France threw 2 jabs and a cross, and Albazi thought he had that cover front. And you can see how fast Kara France's hand is. It gets through his cover and hits him in the face. Like, it's just
clear. He gets a full nose.
Like, he could not stop him from hitting him. Even like it was, clearly someone's got the faster hands. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, man. I overall I thought this fight was cool. I was entertained by it, but I think low-key this might have been my fight of the night. The fight that won fight of the night ultimately, believe it or not, was Alex Caceres and Pineda. But I think this might have been my actual fight of the night, just because of the push back and forth. But it's also funny to me, hey, talk shit, get hit.
Right.
When you try to taunt, you taunt heavy-handed guys, and then they start coming after you. So you never know. But I thought it was a good fight. I was definitely entertained by it. And I think my favorite fight of the night was this one. What was your favorite fight of the night?
Jim Murder versus Jesse Butler.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Well, next week, what we got for you guys is we have UFC 289, Amanda Nunes versus Irene Aldana. We also have Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush, I'm sorry, in our co-main event. On the boxing tip, we have Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez on ESPN Plus.
Top rank ESPN Plus. I like it when they do that because I can see him.
Great. Oh, yeah, it's the best, man. It's on ESPN and ESPN Plus. We got Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez for Josh Taylor's WBO junior welterweight title. Also, if you're interested, that next weekend we also have the return of Adrian Broner and Guillermo Rigondeaux. So that's going to be happening in Florida on pay-per-view on the 9th, which is the day before. But I might pop in on that, check it out, see what's going on. If it's interesting, I'll talk about it on the show. And if anyone else is interested on the DAZN side on June 10th, we also have Jaime Munguia versus Sergey Deverenchenko, a 12-round middleweight contest. Also on that card, we got Shane Mosley Jr. And that pretty much covers it for combat. You got anything else, TJ?
I got nothing else. Go ahead.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for rocking with us again. This has been another episode of the Now Mind You podcast. You can find me at Matt Hambrick. That's MATTHAMBRIC, or it's wherever you like to get your social media. TJ.
Y'all can find me on Instagram at Tuss4Skate. That's TUSS4_SKATE. And you can find Bryce on Instagram at Ashe_Onta. That's AXE_ONCA. Bay.
And you can find us at Now Mind You Podcast, wherever you like to get your social media and wherever you like to get your podcast. We are there. With that said, y'all be safe. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Peace.